Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for the mayor of Abbotsford, but I'm also pressuring to bring the RCMP into Abbotsford faster for the organized crime. It's well documented Henry Brown, in the broad daylight, tried to run me over with his vehicle, fled from the scene, and he paid a lot of Abbotsford top police officers off. Then he used them to threaten me day in and day out, constantly. Henry Brown went in to set up the official community plan with his friends that were in development. His son and the council were not city councils, they were Henry's friend. The RCMP admission knew that when none of them stood up to say Henry tried to kill this man, because this man and residents learned from his son that he was stealing taxpayers and rigging decisions. Henry Brown was well protected in the political ring up the top through Ed Fast, Mike DeYoung, and I believe through David Eby. When Councillor Mogel said there was smoke, there was fire, he knew Henry was doing insider trading and his son was economic proving officer on the city. When Henry convinced everybody that I stepped off because I was in conflict of interest to own the land, he put his son in front of Ross Siemens to make sure the job was done, and he told the punk Ross Siemens, if you say no to my son or call him out, I'll have your ass and you're gone. He was blackjacking them all, and he could frame them all over the counter. And you saw this when Mogel ran. Henry used the task force because he set up all the pieces of land. When I went over to the Mission RCMP, it didn't take them long to learn why the Abbotsford men and women, which were Henry's friend, Ed Fast and Mike DeYoung, and why Henry was trying to kill me. And they knew if you didn't owe him money or shag his wife, then there was a personal thing that Henry was after money and you stood to put it on the world stage. Henry's son is Darren Braun. He was the proving officer. He owns Blue Sky Solutions. 99% of the land through Abbotsford, if you drive around, it's his development company, and he's the applicant. And Henry knew that if he told his son to go and buy it and do it, city councils that are Henry's best friend, and you could see Patty Ross and Ross Siemens, would rend the decision to help the punk over the general community. He knew that Dave Sadu would vote yes because they lifted Dave Sadu's land on Tracy Road for his dad for insider trading for over millions of dollars. And now Dave would have to vote against the general community. I'm up on Old Claiborne. And on Old Claiborne, Sandy Hill and all the residents are outraged. They even called Patty Ross, the activist, and I want you to look today, the tree company and the shithole excavating company came in and they raked the trees left, right, and center. And they were telling these residents that they were going to save a few. They wanted to build the 6 stories and 5-story condos here. This piece of land sat empty for years and years because Henry blocked it, that it couldn't come out of the LR, and this guy was never going to get it zoned. It didn't meet the criteria. And pushed the people down till eventually he could line it up in a way that his son could gain off of it, and they could quickly rush and find a developer and say, look, if you go buy that piece of shit and you hire my shithole son, Blue Sky Solutions, to bring it all to the city so he gets the cream off of it, being the proving officer, took all the vital information out of the city, the same as stealing the fentanyl. There's no difference than him or the Abbotsford policewoman that stole, and took the vital information as proving officer, knowing with his dad and him that the 4 and 5 acre pieces of property were for them. Henry knew that Brad Viss would go down on Henry every single day and choke. And he'd do anything he could because they made him, they set him up. And this is why Brad had to endorse a Liberal. Brad had to go and hurt Suk Mangel and go against his own party. And this is why you don't see Brad calling Dave Sadu's piece of property out. You don't see Brad taking David Eby on about Dave Sadu's property and all the damage been done to the farmers. But here on Old Claiborne, they were going to rake the land and they were going to do this. The council, they weren't council, they were Henry's friend. And this is why Henry is so tied by the Patty Ross at her hips. She's supposed to be some friggin' stupid activist that she only claims when she wants to hurt other people. Oh, Henry wants that stopped, so I care about the tree. Here's old Patty Ross. And you could see her, Henry, hanging with her. I really need to run you. And they launched these big trees, even the weeping willows and everything. And they was, oh, look at it, developer's coming. Oh, we got the developer. And they headhunted the developer. When Henry knew that I knew this from working with Wall Financial, Aquilini, he was rigging the decisions. And I saw the federal conservatives pull away from him, and now the provincial government has pulled away from him because it's organized crime. Henry had the private police that were his friends. That is why he could get Olenoff to tell me to drop videos right now, or he would personally fucking bury me for Henry. Because it was exposing that Henry and his son and council were at Henry's house rigging shit like this over the community. This is why Peter Speranese, the city manager, said, I'm retiring. He knew as the city manager in the oath, the insider trading on Dave Sidhu's piece of property, the Barrowtown Waterworks, the rocks on Gladys, the Abbotsford police were running out of steam to threaten, because Peter Speranese saw that I stand on the world stage and I say thanks to the Mission RCMP, and they could see right through it, and they knew it was about this. Millions of dollars. The Mission RCMP and a lot of other officers are wondering, is David Eby involved, and does David Eby own Into Diverse Construction, and why he pointed them up in Tobiano and everywhere. As the Premier, you don't look away from this shit because it was rigging, it's insider trading. They rigged the decision over the general community, and then they sat there and they said, oh, Council, Vicky Hopes wrote, Council approved it. It was a real hard decision. And they went and then they run to Henry's house and they sit there and they have a lavish party. Did we screw them up? We really screwed them. When Henry knew that his son told somebody that is very clever in this industry, learning from Peter Wall and Wall Financial, Aquilini, and Mike Dakota, I knew that Henry brought these big developers in. And if these big developers get caught and they lose their shit, they're going to smash Henry and his son's teeth out of him. They're going to say, you set me up for insider trading and I'm losing all my shit. Henry knew that these guys now would be in big trouble, and financially you're going to get the RCMP in here because now it left people for body bags. Henry used his friends at the Abbotsford Police to stop Mr. Pelican wherever he's podcasting them things out. So let me explain to Sandy Hill and all Abbotsford residents. Ross Siemens is 100% Henry's bitch. He don't run the city, that is why he sits at his gas station. And Henry designed the Fisher Community Plan to go Henry's friends and Henry's way. He took 90% of the council, except for Les Barkman, in his house and was rigging decisions. But Les knows better than to stand by and know Henry's son was a proving officer. Henry's son has the keys to the vault, and he took all that information to gain off of it. And they took that information not only to gain, but to block other developers so they could get the land. Then they took it and rigged the decisions against the general community and said, we can't come at it. When we don't have a proper police office that doesn't know what to do because Henry owned them and controlled them and they don't know which way to go. I tell you, gangs, let me get on the gangs and the fentanyl shit. And you can see Colin Watts, he don't know to go sit on Superman's lap, Brad Viss's lap, or call Alex Mitchell. Get her to get this big chief. And he got him in trouble. Investigating officers and everyone. It wasn't supposed to get out of hand till Henry escalated it to attempted murders, and then he escalated it to paying Abbotsford police officers. I can't have that shit kicker Mo Gill in. And this is where Mo said there was smoke, there was fire. You know, Henry's little shithole son, Peter Speranese, and the people were in the city working to govern the city under their oath. They were setting up and stealing. And as a city and as a council, I'm telling you, I'm running for mayor. And what will I do? I will fuck this guy up the million ways to sideways. This developer won't know what hit him. This developer will be forced to go into the courts and tell every dirty shithole deal that Darren Brown convinced him that he had council on board to rig this against this community, the people up in Sandy Hill and everyone. Then the upstairs, Peter Speranese and engineers were already making the decisions, and they said the same as Dave Sidhu's property on Tracy Road. It doesn't matter, it goes to council on Monday night, public hearing. The fucking decision's been already made. And you look at him, oh, David Eby, we need bailout for the condo kings. Ripping land left, right, and center. And Henry headhunted. Henry's son showed me that his dad went and headhunted all 4 and 5 pieces of parcels of land that people were bringing that he could research, basically force them out, and then get it. By Darren Brown doing what he's doing as Blue Sky, he made the lift off the top of it. By telling this shithole developer he had a clear path, he had counsel, and none of them were going to say no to him. And the prime example is you can look at that garbage Sandy Blue hanging with Henry. I'm an activist. All these neighbors, and I can tell you right now, she's not a bloody activist. She's a user, and she's a liar and a manipulator. And she used that weight as an activist to care about this environment in the green belt, only to push other people that were Henry's competition that Henry could push down. And today, the phones in the city staff told me were ringing off the hooks for them, and none of them could come out. They were shitting their drawers left, right, and center. And all they could say is, if Ross doesn't really get in, Ross has got to get in. We're working hard to get Ross. If Ross doesn't get in, I'm going to tell you, Ross or no Ross, I'm hell-bent to bring in the RCMP into Abbotsford. Ross is the mayor or Ross is not the mayor. I'm hell-bent of having him charged for doing this to the community. If you think that you could go in and swear an oath and say, I'm the mayor, I don't deserve jail for rigging decisions and lifting lands, and Ross's wife knew it, his dad, that's why his dad came and saw me, rigging these decisions and did it. They were so stupid, they went to Henry's house up on Downs and sat there and concoct these things over the general community. So I'm here on Old Claiborne, and I would tell Corky Neufeld, who's running around with my police chief and Amric Moran shadowing up. We need Amric in. Amric needs to get in, and Amric can do dirty decisions like this. If Amric had any morals as an ethic and as a lawyer, first of all, he wouldn't have cheated with having a private party with Mark Warkentine. I wonder if Warkentine did the land deal here and the land swap with his law firm. And would call it out and say, look, it was wrong, but Amric Moran couldn't do that. He wants to leverage over all the other councillors and everybody. So I'm asking Suki Dami, I'm asking Gurpreet Rai, I'm asking Bardi Sandhu, and I'm asking Mo Gill. And this is why Mo, when he was pushed by Henry and Henry beat him, he had nobody there to defend him. When I saw that, I stood up for one of the most proudest persons of Abbotsford and done the most as city council, even over that shit, Les Barkman, and defended Mo from day one. It was the mission RCMP said, Mr. Pelican, you got to call it out that the task force was used. And this is what Henry was paying his Abbotsford shithole police task force to threaten. Now you get out there, you take that filthy uniform, and you get out there and you go beat them. They weren't solving crime or gangs. And then they were sitting in your office, you can't fire me. Oh, you really need me. I'm working for the Abbotsford. And they compromised the company. And it was pure greed. It was a mob running the town. And I'm going to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. If you overlook the bigger picture of it, you can see that garbage Pierre Poilievre won't even land in Abbotsford to any of his MPs because he knows Ed Fast was involved with Henry. He was Henry's best friend. And he knew Ed covered this, and he knew Brad Viss is involved with Henry. Brad doesn't pay any attention to the party. All he lobbies is, can I get that money? And he saw Brad loading candidates and everything. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to make a very harsh statement. When Henry threatened me, and he used the Abbotsford police, I want Colin Watts, the big police chief, and his filthy investigators that are I'm untouchable, to understand what a politician's role is for its citizens and that is to smash your freaking teeth down your throat. And I want you to hear this. Some of Bruce Bamman's, the sitting MLA and the former mayor, well-loved person, his very best friends, witnessed and were there for me of the Abbotsford police threatening. And if that doesn't rip your heart out of you, and tell you as a police officer and as an investigating officer, I'm going to smash your teeth further down your throat. I'm going to drive your teeth down your throat, so when you go home at night, your wife can look at you and say, how long you've been working for the filthy mob doing these goddamn dirty garbage things in this bloody town, and you called yourself police. That was supposed to be the disguise, so no one knew they were in organized crime. This is what they were doing. And Colin Watson don't know what's right. Brad, what do I do? Suki, what do I do? Call Alex Mitchell. Alex, I need another lap dance. Darren Brown went in. took this information, conned developers into buying it, telling the developers he had counsel because of his dad. Him and his dad were tied up in Augustine. I showed you in Ledgeview. They were tied when Nival fashed them, and Henry went in and set this all up. But Henry tried to end somebody's life, and that called for charges. Henry then was figured he was too big and too rich, and he paid his Abbotsford police, wrecking the company. And when Darren Brown showed me it was all about this, and this is why people were being lined up for body bags, and investigations weren't being done, and my police chief was trying to stand on the world stage with his losers, investigators, and his crap, look at the sergeant, and try to blame gangs and organized crime when it's his bloody friends sitting there doing it because they couldn't go out and honestly compete against developers. I'm calling on everybody. Bruce Bammett, I'm calling on Rianne Gasper, I'm calling on Suki Dami, I'm calling on Mo Gill, I'm calling you all. These people up in Sandy Hill didn't get a say again because this shit wanted to rig it. And now Sandy believed, oh, the old lady needs to make another run. She didn't care about the environment. That was all bullshit. I'm live here, Abbotsford, British Columbia, Old Claiborne. Come up and have a look.